We should be live. We should be live. What's going on, guys? Just a quick little live stream, nothing too crazy. Maybe about an hour, just over an hour, something like that. Just talking some boxing, man. Talking some boxing. But hopefully you guys are doing well. Been a nice couple of days in the UK, man, weather-wise. So things are looking up. Things are looking up. There's no doubt about it. And some big fights coming up around the corner. May, of course, is a massive month in boxing. Canelo Saunders, of course. Ramirez versus Taylor, undisputed. The return of Andy Ruiz. May's a big month in boxing. Really big month. So looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. Big up to Brandon Blanco. Salute to Brandon. Yeah, I hate the idea, Brandon. I'm basically like everyone else. If you've heard other people's opinions, that's what mine is essentially. As a Man United fan, I've made the decision to. I'm not following them anymore. I'm done with them. Even if it doesn't go ahead, they've made their. They've made themselves very clear to me. Just a bunch of greedy scumbags who care nothing for the club. It's been that way a long time at Man United, to be honest, with the Glazers. So I'm done with it all. I'm done with club football. I'm done with it. I'll watch the international tournaments, the Euros, etc. But that's really it. That's really it. I just can't with it anymore, to be honest. Even if it doesn't go ahead, they've shown their true colours now. So yeah, it is what it is. Like even in the last 10 years, I've been more of a casual when it comes to football. I've really fell out of love with it, and this really was like the final nail in the coffin, I guess you would say. But yeah, much like everybody else, complete joke, man. It's a complete joke. I'm not surprised though. They've been talking about it for years now. The whole idea of a Super League, they've been talking about it for a long time now. So I'm not surprised. But it is what it is. What can you do? What can you do? Yeah, it pissed me off, bro. It pissed me off as well. It really did. It pissed me off. But yeah, I'm just sticking with boxing. I might as well follow one fucked up sport instead of two. Boxing's bad enough as it is, let alone football. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this month's boxing coming up. May's boxing looking very good. Like I was saying, man, Canelo Saunders, Ramirez Taylor. You've got the return of Andy Ruiz. There's some good fights in May, so should be a packed month. That's what I'm looking forward to, Brandon. As an American, I will now follow college basketball and boxing. I will stop watching the sport I loved, football. Yeah, man, that's how I feel right now. Don't get me wrong. I'll still watch the World Cup. I'll watch the Euros and things like that. But I'm not going to bother with club football. I'll be a neutral, I guess. I'll still watch it now and again, but I'll be a neutral. What's cracking? Did you watch Billy Joe's dad's interview? No, I haven't. I saw Billy Joe's interview on Sunday with Umar, where he was mentioning that Eddie basically promised him that one of the judges would be from the UK. And that's basically no longer the case, according to Billy Joe. He seems very unhappy, and rightly so. Rightly so. Yes, big up to D. Chelsea are withdrawing. Interesting. Is that official, or is that like through the grapevine? What is that official, or hopefully it's true. Hopefully it's true. Oh, it's true. Yes, on BBC News. Chelsea preparing to withdraw from Super League. Yep, that's good news. That's more pressure. Yo, Jamstar, I said this on Twitter. Yeah, Denzel Bentley being the underdog, I couldn't believe it. You can get him at 7-4. That's worth a go. I think Denzel wins that fight. He's more versatile. I've seen the guy box. I've seen him brawl. He can punch. He can trade. He's got a decent chin. He's shown me a lot more, Denzel Bentley, than Felix Cash. Plus, it's a BT show as well. You have to take that into account. It's on a Frank Warren card. Felix Cash is a matchroom fighter, so he's not going to get any favors. 7-4 for Denzel Bentley is very good value. Very good value. Chelsea going to win the Champions League and FA Cup? Maybe so, man. I think they'll win the FA Cup, definitely. Do you think? Yeah, I do. I've got Denzel Bentley to win that fight. Yeah, I couldn't believe he was the underdog. I checked on Paddy Power today, yeah, and he was 7-4 just to win outright. God knows what the knockout is or points. So that's very good, very good odds on Denzel Bentley. Very good odds. I thought it would have been like an even fight at the bookies, to be honest. But yeah, very interesting. I'll definitely put a bet on D. I'll definitely put a few quid on. Listen, Felix is a decent domestic fighter, but he does the same thing over and over again. He's like, once you've seen him once, you've basically seen all of his fights. Come forward guy, likes to apply the pressure. You know, he's decent. He's not a bad fighter, but I've just seen more versatility from Denzel Bentley. And the way I look at it is, if Eddie Hearn really thought all that highly of Felix Cash, they would have tried to have got that fight on Sky. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's one of those ones. Is Fury versus Joshua confirmed? Not quite yet. Apparently, though, it's going to go down in Saudi Arabia, more than likely in Jeddah. And, you know, they're basically saying maybe 20,000 fans at the arena. That's what Bob Arum said anyway. I hope Hunter wins. I pity him and his sad little face because I feel sorry for him. He stooped to a new low, being Jake Paul's ass kisser. And man, that's a good fight, man. Michael Hunter, Filip Hrgović. That's another good fight. Matchroom won the purse bids today. Obviously, they look after Filip Hrgović. So yeah, the purse bids have now been won for that fight. IBF Eliminator. Michael Hunter versus Filip Hrgović looking very likely now. Very good fight. I would favour Filip Hrgović, but it's a tough fight for both guys, man. Obviously, Hrgović has that amateur background, 6'6", you know, good boxer, good puncher. Michael Hunter, smaller guy, but very fast, very quick, very agile. That's a great fight. Michael Hunter, Filip Hrgović. Very good fight. Very good fight. Can't find my cursor. Hang on. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that, Sean Fowler, the Michael Hunter fight. Michael Hunter versus Filip Hrgović. That should be a good fight. Should be a good fight. Like I say, I would lean towards Filip Hrgović, but literally cannot find my my fucking cursor. There we go. There we go. Fucking mouse, man. Yeah, I've only seen odds on the win outright, not by KO, etc. Yeah, same. Big up to Nordic Warrior. Salute to you, sir. Yeah, I saw this. Yeah, Billy Joe Saunders looks in good shape. It's a shame that it had to be the Canelo fight that made him get in such shape. I don't know. I have a feeling that he'll probably be. This might be Billy Joe's last fight for a while. Yeah, it could be. It could be his last fight, to be honest. But to be fair to him, I saw that picture on social media. He does look in very good shape. Arguably the best shape I've seen Billy Joe Saunders in, to be honest. And he's saying the right things in the interviews now. And he seems pissed off with Eddie Hearn about the judging. I think Billy knows what the score is. He's not stupid. For all we say about Billy Joe, he's not stupid. He knows what the score is with the judging. And he seems rather annoyed about the fact that there's going to be no British officials at that fight. Basically, according to Billy Joe, when he signed for the fight, Eddie told him that there would be at least one British judge. There'd be one British judge, one American judge, and one Mexican judge. That was the proviso that Billy Joe signed under, and apparently that's no longer the case. And Billy Joe put that out there. So I'm hoping that's motivation for Billy Joe Saunders. Hopefully he can prove me wrong. Yeah, I like the Hunter Hrgovic fight. When is Hunter Hrgovic looking like being May? So I'm not really sure. All we know so far is that side is done. So theoretically, we should find out news rather soon. If Fury turns up, it's on. Yeah, exactly. You can never tell, can you? Lol Fury exposes hype job Joshua. We will see, man. We will see. What do you think they'll do with Hunter versus Hrgovic? Main event or undercard? Do you know what? It'd be great if they could put that on the undercard of Joshua Fury. That would be great exposure for both fighters if they could do that, but I can't see that happening. I think that'll be a main event on its own in America on DAZN, to be honest. Hrgovic is like a mix between Vladimir and Vitali. Yeah, I always call Filip Hrgovic a poor man's Vitali Klitschko. Some of his mannerisms in the ring are very similar, like how he leans back and paws with that jab, for example. Doesn't always load up with all of his shots. He is similar to Vitali Klitschko a little bit. I'd still like to see Michael Polite Coffey versus Carlos Takam next. Yeah, good fight. Good fight. I'd like to see Michael Coffey versus Jared Anderson, to be honest. Hrgovic is a big puncher and has an awkward style, but is very flawed in my opinion. Yeah, I can see what you're saying, Nordic. I think we'll find out a lot more about him in the Michael Hunter fight. I think Hunter's good enough to give many people problems in the heavyweight division, as are a lot of these cruiserweights. Too many figures. He says it's going to be a Floyd versus Canelo type fight, in my opinion. Billy Joe's going to get robbed by a majority decision or split decision. Interesting. Mayweather's going to teach AJ how to stink the fight out. Yeah, I can see what Nordic's saying in regards to Filip Hrgovic. I do have my reservations. Like Vitali, his defense style primarily is leaning back. But the thing is with Vitali, he could get out of range a lot quicker. Vitali had deceptively quick feet, whereas Filip Hrgovic is a lot more flat-footed with he's a lot more flat-footed than Vitali. So that whole lean-back style, if somebody can pressure him and throw punches on the front foot, I could see Hrgovic getting caught. But we'll see. It's a good fight, though. I like it. I like it, man. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and somebody else are going at it. Yeah, have to give props to Hunter and Hrgovic. Guys like Dillian would never go near fights like that, as they're not pay-per-view and is risky career fight for both. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Turned onto a stream again and Dell is banging on about little fat man Hunter. I like Michael Hunter, man. He's a good fighter. Yeah, it's a risky fight for Filip Hrgovic, man. I mean, if you lose to a cruiserweight like Hunter, it's not a good look. No matter how good Hunter is, it's not a good look. So, really, it's the ideal fight for both guys because I would say they're both in the Who Needs Them club. Michael Hunter, small heavyweight, but awkward, tricky, elusive, but not a big name. He's a risky fighter in his own right. And Hrgovic, a big lump, he can punch, but not a big name. Both of these guys right now are not commodities in the heavyweight division. Nobody's going to give these guys a voluntary title shot. So it's the ideal fight for both guys because it's an eliminator. So it makes sense for both guys, in my opinion. And I really want to see it. I like the fight a lot. And that's what I'm saying, though. Yeah, looks like we're going to get Joshua and Fury, which is all well and good. We want to see that fight. But at the same time, these other heavyweights in the division, these other contenders, these guys can't afford to sit on their asses and do nothing. They still need to fight each other while Undisputed is taking place. Ultimately, it's down to these guys now to put themselves in a position to fight the winner or maybe even fight for a vacant title. So these guys need to fight each other in the interim. It's not just Joshua and Fury in the heavyweight division. There's many other great fights that can be made, that need to be made, as far as I'm concerned. That's how I see it. And that's one of them. Hrgovic and Hunter. I want Deontay Wilder and Dillian White. Wilder and Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz and Dillian White. These are the sort of fights we need in the interim as well. Maybe Luis Ortiz, Andy Ruiz. Any one of these sort of fights will do. Wizard Sleeve and Jiu-Jitsu's going at it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Vitali was a great athlete in his prime. He was much more effective with that style than Hrgovic is now. Yeah, I agree. Great punch output, quick feet, very good reflexes as well, Vitali Klitschko. Yeah, Vitali used his hands well defensively too. Hrgovic has slower hands, I agree. And yeah, Vitali with his lead hand control as well could really dictate range and make it really awkward for his opponents, particularly shorter opponents. Yeah, Vitali also had a great chin and balance. We don't know about Hrgovic and his attributes now. I agree. Well, looking at the amateurs, it does look like Hrgovic has a good chin. He got cracked a lot in the amateurs, and he was fighting big punchers. So the amateurs tend to say he's got a good chin, but you can never really tell. It's much different in a 12-round fight. Getting cracked in like a 3-round fight and getting cracked in a 12-round fight late on is completely different. So we'll see about Filip Hrgovic. I like what I see, but like you said, definitely some flaws he needs to iron out. Vitali sucks. Fat Lewis butchered him around the ring. I wouldn't go that far, man. That was competitive. I had Vitali 4-2 up at the stoppage. They should have rematched, man. They should have rematched. There's no doubt about it. Should have rematched. I guess the only thing for Billy Joe is to box and move out of that southpaw stance, try and exploit Canelo's slow feet. That's one thing Canelo doesn't have is foot speed. And yeah, people say Canelo's better now at cutting off a ring, but we don't really know that because the last time we saw Canelo against a real mover was Erislandy Lara. And in that fight, he was struggling to take the lead, close the distance, apply effective pressure. So I guess the thing for Billy Joe is to try and exploit those slow feet. He needs to have a much better gas tank than we've seen in recent fights as well, Billy Joe Saunders. But yeah, he needs to make Canelo take the lead and try and cut the ring off. Don't let your back touch the ropes. Don't stay stationary. Move continuously. If having a referee from the UK mattered that much to Billy Joe Saunders and Hearn verbally agreed to it, then shouldn't Saunders have got that written in the contract? Yeah, I agree. That's Billy Joe Saunders for you. Sounds like he's been stitched up on the gate as well. Yeah, so I heard this as well. So according to Billy Joe, he signed for that fight again under the proviso that it was behind closed doors. So no live gate. That's no longer the case, of course. There's going to be a crowd for that fight. And apparently Billy Joe Saunders' pay is the same as it would have been with no crowd. And he's unhappy with that as well. So Billy Joe right now is a bit pissed off. But again, he needs to use that as motivation. Don't feel sorry for yourself and curl up in a ball and take a dive. Try and upset the apple cart. I think Fury beats Joshua in my opinion, but I think it's going to be close. All this Joshua has no chance going back to watch the Fury John McDermott fight. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go back and watch the Fury John McDermott fight and tell me Joshua's got no chance. Yeah, that's how I feel, bro. I make Fury a favourite, and if he boxes that fight, sticks and moves, I think he should win. But Joshua's still a big threat. He's still a big threat in my opinion. But I back Fury. But I'm not as convinced on it as a lot of people are. Like, the Joshua fans and Fury fans are convinced either way. There's no swaying their opinion. They're convinced their guy wins, but that's just fanboyism. Both guys have a legitimate chance of winning that fight. Tyson Fury, though, in my opinion, a slight better chance. That's how I see it. Joshua's a hype job. Ruiz made him quit. Now he only fights on the outside. Yeah, he can't afford to do that against Fury, though. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He can't afford to box with Tyson Fury, in my opinion. Vitali was competitive with a fat Lewis. Listen, man, Vitali was short notice for that fight as well, man. So Both guys were training for a fight on the same card. So it was short notice for both guys. Vitali dominated Lewis. He wanted to continue even with the cut and still probably would have won. It's a shame we never got the rematch, Nordic. It's a shame we never got the rematch. Would have been a great fight. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Lennox was the best of his era. I'd agree with that. Yeah, don't get me wrong, shadowboxing. I'm not saying that Canelo hasn't improved since then. But what I'm saying is we've not seen Canelo with that sort of fighter since then. So how do we know that Canelo's really improved at cutting off a ring and things like that, closing the distance effectively? How do we know he's improved at that if Lara was the last sort of back foot fighter he's fought? People always say Canelo's got so much better at applying pressure and cutting the ring off. Yeah, maybe against flat-footed guys, but what about guys who can stick and move? We don't know because he's not fought a guy like that since. Yeah, Lewis did actually promise Vitali the rematch, and he pulled out. But yeah, he didn't take it. What's your reaction to the May 15th card? I've only seen it in glance. It looks okay, Haydar. I'll be interested to see who Joshua Buatsi's fighting though. I'll be interested. Yeah, I want to see who Buatsi's fighting. I'd like to see him fight someone like Shabransky. I think that'd be a good fight for him. Canelo's last 10 fights, he probably only fought 2 movers in Jacobs and Khan. Yeah, Khan doesn't count because he was a midget coming up from 147. No business in that ring. And as for Danny Jacobs, Jacobs can move, but I wouldn't call him an all-out mover. Plus, he was drained in that fight as well. So, to me, Canelo's not fought a healthy mover since Lara. Billy's looking for a retirement payday. You're more than likely right, Nordic. AJ will beat Fury and beat him well. I'll leave it at that. Interesting. That's what I'm thinking, Nordic. If Tyson boxes and moves and is very defensive, I think he wins that fight. If he approaches that fight the way he approached the Wilder rematch, I think there's a very good chance Fury gets knocked out. And I think Tyson knows that. If you see the shape Tyson's in, he's a lot more lean now from what I see. He looks a lot more slim. I think he's preparing to box and move from what I see. Billy should be getting Dr. Bear's live gate because the crowd he brings will bring the quality down. He's got to pay for his crowd. Fury exposes hype job Joshua. I see a lot of Joshua fans and Fury fans say that though. If that's how you feel, fair enough. But if your guy wins, whether you're a Joshua fan or a Fury fan, if you're calling the other guy a hype job, then surely you don't give your guy credit for beating a hype job. I hope Billy Joe makes it worth our while instead of a typical Canelo Mexican style beatdown. Thinking about the judges situation, I want to see Billy Joe get robbed just to see how he dumps the judges in the interview. Yeah, I saw that Anthony Yard pulled out because of a dental problem. That says it all, really. That says it all. Do you know what I mean? That says it all. To me, Jacobs is not primarily a back foot fighter. He can fight on the back foot, as we saw in the Golovkin fight, but he can also hold his feet and trade. He can be the boxer puncher. Danny Jacobs is quite versatile. He wasn't moving that much against Canelo, not really. He wasn't negative against Canelo. He just looked flat. Lennox Lewis fans praise him for his rigged rematch with McCall. Laugh out loud. Yeah, that was crazy, man, that fight. Golovkin fought on the back foot in the second fight. Not again, that whole fight, if you watch the whole fight, What was happening in the second half of that fight? It was Canelo who was getting hurt. Like round 10, for example, he got his head jolted and got visibly hurt in that fight. Golovkin finished that fight quite strongly. First half of that fight, don't get me wrong, Golovkin was fighting off a back foot much more than we're used to seeing. But in the second half, Golovkin started to apply a lot more pressure. And as a result, he hurt Canelo. Yeah, Cotto actually fought back foot against Canelo, I can't lie. But once again, though, a midget, a guy coming up from 154, he's never been a true middleweight, Cotto. Anti-Canelo narratives are hilarious. So are you saying, Shadowboxing, that there's no reason to criticize Canelo? Are you saying there's no validity in people complaining about judges or the drug testing scenario, etc., or the catch weights? You're saying Canelo's done it all legit? Are you saying if Canelo was a B-side fighter, his record would be the same? Because we know that's not true. Josh Taylor beats them all, I agree, man. I think he'll beat Ramirez. It's a good fight, though. It's a much harder fight than people are making out. Ramirez has a chance, but I'm leaning towards Taylor. Yeah, it's a shame, man. That fight would have ended up being like an all-time great heavyweight fight. In my opinion, that was an amazing fight. Yeah, you know what I mean, though. Not a midget, but I mean like a lot lighter than Canelo Alvarez. That's what I meant. You know what I mean. Canelo's quality and pressure would get to Andrade. You would imagine? Clear from his post-fight interview that Andrade was a bit uncomfortable with even Liam Williams. Yeah, he definitely was. He definitely was. I think Andrade naturally is going to give anybody problems, like for the first 2 or 3 rounds. But anybody elite, I think, will get to him. To be honest, I think anybody elite will get to Andrade. Like I wouldn't pick Andrade to beat Charlo or Golovkin. To be honest, even now with Golovkin. And I think Golovkin's there for the taking to an extent. Joshua hasn't fought many guys that truly went in there to win. I wouldn't say that, man. I wouldn't say that. The first Ruiz fight, Povetkin, White, Klitschko. There's a few guys who shat the bed, like Parker, for example, and Ruiz in the second fight. But Joshua's fought guys who come to win. In my opinion. Alan Babic versus Andre Fedosov. Good fight. I'd like to see it. Hemi Ahio versus Alan Babic. Andre Fedosov versus Hemi Ahio. Anyway, these would be good. Yeah, they would be good fights. All good fights. Saunders is garbage, let's be totally honest. Yeah, I'm not as high on him as a lot of people are, but stylistically, if he's fit and he's got a good gas tank, maybe his style could give Canelo some problems for a few rounds at least. We'll see. We'll see. Hearn has fucked Saunders over. Yeah, that's what he's insinuating. Whether he's telling the truth or whatever, well, who knows? But I wouldn't put it past Eddie Hearn. Yeah, Vitaly and Vladimir uppercuts from Lewis and AJ were epic. How did they stay up? Yes, crazy, man. Like the uppercut that Vitaly Klitschko took against Lennox Lewis, that shot would have knocked out a fucking horse. How he never fucking went down from that shot is beyond me. That was gnarly. I hope we get so do I. I hope we get a Pro Grace Josh Taylor rematch eventually. Great fight. I agree. That was my favorite fight from 2019. Pro Grace Taylor. It was a great fight. Yeah, I think this is the perfect take. This is how I see it. I'm not as high on Saunders as a lot of people are, But I think he's a solid fighter. He's got some good attributes. He'll give a lot of guys problems. But I agree. I think the Lemieux fight really, really did flatter him, to be honest. I totally agree with that. Totally agree. Yeah, exactly. And it's not that I don't rate Canelo as a fighter. I do. The guy's got a lot of skill. He's got a lot of ability. But that's not the question for me. It's just the politics with Canelo. It's just the politics. I felt the same way with Floyd. But to me, with Canelo, it seems even more overt. All of the political A-side stuff. It just seems a lot more overt with Canelo. Yeah, Barry Hearn's stepping down, yeah. Eddie Hearn's now the main man at Matchroom Sports across the board. So there you go. Exactly, Tone, yeah. Canelo's the king of shenanigans. And listen, you can be a fan of Canelo and still admit that he does get a lot of breaks, that he does get a lot of advantages. To deny that is just dishonest, to be honest. And also got outlanded in both fights, shadow boxing. Significantly outlanded as well, I might add. Significantly outlanded. Yo, big up to John Gonzalez, man. Salute to John. Big up to John, man. Hopefully you're keeping well, John. Wait till we hear, yeah. Wait till we start hearing all-time great talks for Canelo after the Billy Joe Saunders fight. It's already happening, man. People throw that term around way too fucking willingly for a lot of fighters, not just Canelo. Imagine being a boxing fan and supporting Canelo. Laugh out loud. I think that's dishonest, though. Shadow boxing. I think that's really dishonest. I don't see how you can be a boxing fan and just willingly accept how Canelo has so many advantages. Again, when you're an A-side fighter, yeah, of course you are going to have certain advantages. That's cool. You're going to have the home crowd. You're going to be the promoter's favorite. That's all understandable. That happens, but the the failed drug test scenario, before anything came out, the WBC already had Canelo's back. They came out and sided with Canelo before anything was known. Shit like that, man. That's not right. That's not right. Ridiculous scorecards. A draw against Mayweather. Joke. 117, 111 against Lara. Joke. 118, 110 against Golovkin. Joke. The Trout scorecards. Yeah, he won that fight, in my opinion. Way too wide, though. It was a close fight. Joke. So many fucking scorecards in his fights are beyond a joke. Even the Miguel Cotto fight. Yeah, he clearly won the fight, but it was a lot closer than the cards had. But do you know what I mean? It's a track record with Canelo. It's not one thing. There's so many rehydration clauses. Sergey Kovalev, before the fight, they were selling that fight to the fans as a real light heavyweight fight with no rehydration clauses, nothing like that. A week before the fight, but the eve of the fight, it came out that there was a rehydration clause. So basically, they missold that fight to fans, but that's okay. Come on now. Come on. Yeah, the mere fact that Billy Joe Saunders is still signed to Hearn after all of the scummy things Billy Joe's done, not to mention getting him his biggest payday in boxing. That's true, to be fair. Billy Joe doesn't exactly cover himself in glory. He's not exactly put himself in a position to get favours from promoters. He's just been a massive headache to both Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn. That's true. Flatly Fury. Flatly Fairy. No, he's still not defended a belt. Yeah, Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard was the same too. They had a lot of help behind the scenes. Yeah, that's always going to help. That's always going to happen to a certain extent. But it's just like it's how it's. I think what it is with Canelo for me is how overt it is. It's like right in your face to the point. It's to the point where it takes your enjoyment away from the fights because you could see, just hypothetically, if Billy Joe won that fight 7 rounds to 5, in most fans' eyes, he's not going to get the decision. So it takes away from the sporting aspect of all Canelo fights to me. Yeah, so Barry Hearn can decide to step down. Yeah, Vince McMahon's 85-year-old ass won't. Yeah, in both fights, it was only Canelo who got hurt. So he got outlanded, he got hurt, but he won the fight. Come on, man. Yeah, Buatsi's opponent announced. Sorry, Buatsi announced for 3 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks time, but opponent is TBC. It's a very poor sign of where he's at. I totally agree, JDav. I totally agree. Again, I wouldn't mind seeing Buatsi fight someone like Shabransky, a good sort of fringe level guy who's got decent experience, can punch a bit. That's who I would like to see Buatsi fight. Maybe Isaac Chilemba. That's another guy I'd have no problem with. But 3 weeks notice, I can't see that level of opponents. And yeah, Buatsi right now is very disappointing. I like his style. Seems like a real down to earth guy as well, but they're hiding something with Joshua Buatsi. I'm sure of it. What I heard from someone, this is from someone close to Buatsi. Again, I'm not sure how true this is, but what I heard, they basically wanted to go nowhere near the Callum Johnson fight, his team. That's what I heard. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Again, I've never doubted Canelo's skill set at all. I doubt the nature of some of his fights due to pattern recognition. That's how human beings survived over centuries, pattern recognition, right? We've all got that ability. If you ignore patterns, then I don't know what to tell you. When there's like 6 or 7 fights where there's been terrible scorecards, when the guy's failed PED tests and the sanctioning bodies have his back before anything's announced, when there's rehydration clauses, when there's catch weights in numerous fights, you expect me to say that this guy is doing it the right way 100% of the time? Because it's not the case. Best divisions and worst divisions in the sport. Worst right now, I'm not feeling 160. I'm not feeling 168. Flyweight's really good. Super flyweight's really good. Lightweight's got the potential to be really good, but that could end up like welterweight. 140 is excellent as well. 154's delivered in recent years. Yeah, there's some good divisions out there. There's a couple of bad ones. He got suspended, but basically it was almost to the point when he got suspended. It was a 6 month suspension when he already served like what 4 months of it. It was basically a slap on the wrist. And before that even happened, the WBC had his back. So yeah, he was protected, no doubt. Exactly. That's exactly Toby. You can be a fan of Canelo and still say, do you know what? He gets a lot of advantages that a lot of fighters don't get. That's the honest take. There's nothing wrong with liking Canelo if you're honest with like the bullshit that comes with it. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I'll take James Toney over Canelo. To me, Canelo was worse. It's the worst out of that bunch, though, shadow boxing, in terms of the A-side stuff. That's what I believe. All of those guys that you mentioned, I prefer over Canelo. He did indeed, yeah. He did, yeah. They pretended to suspend him to give him a break to heal his knee. One thing that people overlook is one thing that people overlook, I think, is that ever since he's been on the zone, the scores have been very good. The Jacobs fight was 1 round away from a draw on 2 cards. Yeah, that is true, actually. The zone cards don't look too bad. Like, even the Kovalev fight, until the stoppage, I think he was losing on 2 of the cards, or 1 of the cards, and the other was a draw, which was about right, in my opinion. So, yeah, the zone cards actually are a lot better, to be fair. I don't know who Barry Bonds is, bro. I've got no idea who that is, if I'm being honest. Yeah, White failed and fought the next day. That's true. But again, I've gone in on Dillian White. If Kovalev won the last 2 rounds, he would have won at MD. I think Billy Joe can actually win a decision. We'll see. Can you imagine if Billy Joe were to be the guy to beat him? Can you imagine? That'd be crazy. I think Billy Joe gets stopped late. That's what I'm feeling right now. I think he'll start quite well, maybe win a few rounds, but his gas tank at 168 is not as good, to be honest. And his gas tank was never great, Billy Joe Saunders. You look at the John Ryder fight where he gassed out, the Andy Lee fight he gassed out, the Akovov fight he gassed out. The Eubank Jr. fight, he gassed out. Billy Joe's not got a great gas tank. And I think he'll start this fight well, might win some of the early rounds, but eventually he'll slow down. Canelo will start to close the gap a little more, start touching the body, and maybe you could see Billy Joe get stopped late on. That I wouldn't be surprised if that's how it goes, but we'll see nearer the time. I'll make my official prediction. Yeah, even Fields, yep. Holyfield was getting roids sent to his home. Rescored the Taylor Prograis fight the other day, had it a draw. They're clearly a level above the rest. That's how I feel, Jamstar. I mean, the Prograis-Taylor fight, to me, that fight's a 7-5 either way or a draw. That was a very, very close fight. Nobody really separated themselves from each other in that fight, in my opinion. And yeah, I'd love to see a rematch. Love to see a rematch. Neither does getting outworked in the vast majority of every single round. And getting hurt in both fights. Again, look at the press row scores. For the first fight, it was overwhelmingly Golovkin. Even in the second fight, look at the press row scores. Vast majority Golovkin. People know what they saw, but others not so much, man. Not so much. And the Lara fight as well, to me, was I felt Lara won that fight as well. I felt Lara beat Canelo. What did Canelo land? Like fucking 13 headshots in the whole fight. Yeah, don't get me wrong, landed some beautiful body shots, but he was getting outboxed for the majority of that fight, in my opinion. Not majority of it, I'll take that back, but I felt Lara was always in control in that Canelo fight. I had it like sort of a 7-5 type fight with Lara. I could see a draw. Big up to Jazz. Too many people are slaves to money, e.g. Super League, ending now though. Judging and PEDs in boxing. With that being said, here's a super chat for a beer. That's a very good point, though. It's a very good point, yeah. I mean, it's a similar thing. Yeah, people are not willing to call out PEDs in boxing or the judging. people are just too keen to support their guy no matter what, even if it's to the detriment of the sport. But yeah, you're totally right, man. Money ruins all of these sports. We see it in football now with the Super League, which is a complete joke. But yeah, it looks like Chelsea are pulling out of the Super League, so that's good news. Hopefully, the other clubs follow. But ultimately, that's what it comes down to. It's who generates the money, and that guy's going to get protected because he makes a lot of other people money. So that's just the way of the world. Unfortunately, that's the way of the world. But big up to Jazz, man. Thank you for the contribution. Much appreciated. 126 isn't great, Hashman. You're right. Yo, Hashman, now you're here, actually. Denzel Bentley versus Felix Cash. Bentley's an underdog with the bookies, so if you want to put a bet on, go for it, man. Some very good odds on Denzel Bentley. Big up to Dan Mack as well, man. Yeah, I agree. Callum Johnson's no mug. He's fighting this weekend, Dan Mack. Salute, Del. Why was Canelo favoured even early in his career? Scorecards felt tight versus Floyd. Is it the Mexican chosen one syndrome? Is it being young at the time with a future upside? Yeah, that's what it is, man. Canelo was a big star in Mexico even before he went to America. He was basically the guy who was groomed to be the next big thing. And you can see why. He had the style. He had the look. He's exciting in the ring. You can see why, but you can't say that hasn't helped his career. Like, if people out there want to say to me that hypothetically, if Canelo was a B-side fighter, that his record would look the same, they're being dishonest. Exactly, yeah. And nobody's really complaining about Buatsi though. Everybody fucking shat on Anthony Yard on the come up, right? Nobody's saying the same shit with Joshua Buatsi right now. And Buatsi had a much greater amateur background, Hashman. Buatsi won a bronze medal in the Olympics. And look at how slowly he's being moved. I'm convinced, Hashman, they know something that we don't. I'm convinced of it. Dell's fixation with watching small men repeatedly hit each other in the face, showing through there. Yo, big up to Apology Man in the house. Salute to Apology. Yes, big up Apology. But yeah, the whole Canelo discussion to me is rather boring at this point. I've made my feelings on Canelo very clear. And again, I'm not as militant with it as a lot of people are. Do I like his style of fighting? Yeah, I do. But I just can't get fully invested in his fights. That's all my point is. If you can, then you do you, man. Don't know why people are so concerned with what I have to say on certain fighters. I mean, I'm just some cunt on the internet. Do you know what I mean? So there we go. That's just my 2 cents on Canelo. I think Hrgovic Hunter went cheap. $666,066. Maybe. I'd like to see it on the Joshua undercard, AA Boxing and Blunts. That's what I'd like to see. I'd love to see that fight on that undercard. That would be great exposure for both guys. Good, J-Dev. Yep. See, Chelsea and Man City are now pulling out of the European Super League. Looks like it's dead on arrival, fortunately. Oh, was he up on the cards against Kovalev? I know he was definitely losing on one of the cards, and the other cards were very close. It was something like that. It was something like that. Andre, he says, I don't know if it's me, but that picture of Billy Joe Saunders looks photoshopped as fuck. You wouldn't put it past Billy Joe Saunders, would you? You wouldn't put it past him. You might be right. You might be onto something. See, this is where our opinions differ on this one, Nordic. I think Kovalev thought that way because he had no faith in his gas tank because of a rehydration clause. You know, the rehydration clause that they said wasn't there, and a night before the fight, we found out that it was there. The fight they basically missold. If that was pay-per-view, I'd have fucking requested a refund. I'd have said it was a missold product. If Billy Joe Saunders wins, I'll roast Canelo until the end of time. Yeah, Billy Joe's getting beaten up. That's one thing I like about that fight, though, actually. I'm not a fan of either guy. So whoever really loses, I'm a winner kind of thing. I'm not a fan of either guy. Billy Joe Saunders going to break records for most amount of running during a professional fight. Yeah, I think so. I think so, James. Mayweather's legendary for how much he paid a lot of his opponents. Listen, even with Mayweather, right? Even with Mayweather, I know the guy played a lot of games in the ring, but I always felt with Mayweather, on the right night, somebody could beat him. Like we saw that in the Maidana fight, the first fight. Maidana got away with a lot of shit in that fight, and one of the judges had it a draw. The other cards were close. Obviously, you had the Canelo fight. Yeah, Mayweather got a lucky decision in the Castillo fight, but I always felt with Mayweather, on any given night, he could lose. I don't get that with Canelo, not because he's that good. He is very good, don't get me wrong, but it's more so everything that's on his side. Yeah, I agree. Apology, man. I agree. But big up to Jazz again for the super chat. Much appreciated, bro. Always helps the channel out. Saunders is getting stopped. I thought he'd be able to run for 12 rounds, but I'm not sure with his gas tank. If he's got nasal spray, again, he'll survive. Yeah, that's the thing. But he's no longer with Dominic Ingle. Is he with Dominic Ingle still? Billy Joe Saunders? Who's he with now, Billy Joe? I forget. I forget who Billy Joe's even with now, to be honest. Who's Billy Joe Saunders' trainer now? Because he's gone from Dominic Ingle to Ben Davison. Is he back with Dominic Ingle now? I think he landed 13 headshots shadow boxing. That was a low work rate fight in general. That Lara Canelo fight. I just felt Lara was the ring general for more rounds than Canelo was. From what I remember, again, I've not seen this fight for a long time, but from what I remember, the first 3 or 4 rounds, Lara was basically completely outboxing Canelo. Then Canelo came back into it for a lot of rounds, and then Lara came back into it towards the end, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a long time since I've seen that fight, though. It's been a long time. Will Stokes, I scored at 8 for Taylor, but yeah, in my opinion, they're definitely the 1 and 2 at 140. Kind of unfortunate, with all due respect to Ramirez, that he's the one who'll end up in the undisputed fight. Wish it was Prograis. Yeah, but you know, Ramirez in his own right is a very good fighter. He's not a bad fighter at all. And again, stylistically, he is different to Prograis. If Taylor engages Ramirez in the pocket for all 12 rounds, don't be shocked if Taylor gets upset in that fight. Ramirez has a great chin. He's got a good engine, decent power. Physically very strong. I think Taylor needs to mix it up in that fight. Obviously, at times, he's going to need to fight with Ramirez. But other times, he's going to need to move and pick his spots. Truth Son, he says, big up to Truth Son, by the way. Thank you for the super chat. Canelo's got a lot of secrets in the dark on his side. Yeah, let us know when you're ramming down that straight right into a heavy bag. Billy Joe's with Tibbs. Okay, Billy Joe's with Tibbs. Yeah, that's it. So he went from Ingle to Davison, back to Ingle to Mark Tibbs. That's it. Yeah. But big up to Truth Son, man. Salute to you, sir. Salute to you. I forgot where I was now. Fuck. Again, shadow boxing. It's not, for me, it's not about PEDs in boxing. I think it's either one rule for one. It's not one rule for one. It's one. You know what I mean? It should be one rule for everybody. If everybody had access to PEDs and everyone could use them, I've got no problem with it. But the thing is with drugs in boxing and drug testing, it becomes weaponized. We have scenarios where fighters can dictate what drug testing agency is used. That's a conflict of interest in itself. Things like this should not exist in boxing, as far as I'm concerned. If drug testing and all this shit was to be taken seriously in boxing and fairly, then it should be one organization which covers the whole of boxing. So the standards are very clear, the punishments are very clear, and the same for everybody. Until that happens, then boxing's always going to be a mess. But it's not the PEDs that are actually the issue for me. It's like the inconsistencies of how each case is handled and how certain fighters have more leeway than others. Ramirez is the number 2 in the Ramirez is the number 2 in the division on the eye test. Regis looks better, but people need to respect Ramirez more as he's a unified champion. Yeah. Oh yeah, don't get me wrong, Hashman. Ramirez, very good fighter, and he's come a long way as well from when I first saw him. I first saw him back in 2016, and back then he looked ordinary. He looked like one of those guys who might fight for a title, but basically never win one. But since then, he's come on a long way. He really has improved, Jose Ramirez. Stephen says, Prograis, Manguia, and Andrade are the most overrated right now, in my opinion. Interesting take. I agree with Andrade, much to Hashman's dismay. I don't really see many people rate Manguia, though. I don't really see many rate Manguia. I rate Prograis quite highly. So it's one of those ones, man. Death by 1,000 left hands. No, Dave Allen is pound for pound king, shadow boxing. Well, it's a weird one, Stephen. So yeah, Callum Johnson left Hearn, and according to Hearn, they offered the Buatsi fight to Johnson, but according to Johnson, it was one of those offers where he knew that he would reject it because it was so poor. Team Johnson are basically saying it was almost like a PR exercise from Hearn to make it look like they offered the fight, kind of thing, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, Anthony Yard. Yeah, he's made a lot of money out of the sport. That's one thing you've got to give Frank Warren credit for, like how he got Yard to that fight and made him a lot of money. Yeah, he's not great defensively, Hashman, Felix Cash. Yeah, you say he's a decent fighter, but he'll get pinged all night. The bookies' odds look decent. Yeah, very decent. 7-4 right now, Hashman, for Denzel Bentley. Exactly, Nordic. I'm just bored with the whole Canelo discussion, if I'm being honest. Are you serious, Bump of K? You got to be trolling right now. You got to be trolling. Don't fucking don't get my hopes up, man. Are leaving the club at the end of the season, according to TalkSport. Good riddance. Piece of shit, man. Yeah, stay woke, man. Miguel Vasquez actually beat Canelo, but they robbed him on the scorecards in a split decision. Billy Joe's going to get comprehensively beat and blame the loss on a small ring and the Canelo A-side tactics when really he was just outclassed. Yeah, I think he'll get beaten legitimately, Jakov, in that fight. Yeah, I'd love to see it, man. The first fight was sick. I think Lee McGregor, though, since that first fight, he looks really improved. His last fight looked very good, man. Hitting hard, good accuracy, nice punch technique. He was looking really good, man. So I might favour Lee McGregor in a rematch, but I'd love to see it. Love to see it. But he's fighting bigger guys, yeah, 100%, like Kovalev, for example. But was that Kovalev stronger due to the rehydration clause? Was Danny Jacobs stronger? Yeah, he was bigger, but once again, had a rehydration clause. So it's one of those ones, man. Yeah, Mark Tibbs with Billy Joe. Yeah, so do I, Hash, man. I think I'd lean towards Lee McGregor. I still think it'll be a war. I don't think anybody gets knocked out, but I'd lean towards McGregor. Damn, Truth Son again, man, coming in with the support. Thing is, if I can get away with PEDs, while you can't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, weaponized drug testing and whatnot. It's a real thing in boxing. Across the board, man. Like certain fighters in the UK, there's a big problem that nobody talks about, and it's like TUEs in the UK. Certain fighters can get hold of these real easily, others not so much. So basically, there's also in boxing legalized doping. Certain guys can get use exemptions for certain things, whereas others, maybe they don't have the resources to do that. Yeah, Canelo's head movement looks a lot better now, 100%. Yeah, I remember the straight left being money all night for Lara. Nasal spray versus Mexican meat. I know what I'd rather have, and it's definitely not nasal spray. This is brilliant news, AA. Brilliant news. Ed Woodward is a fucking scumbag, so glad to see the back of him. That guy's a piece of shit, honestly. Absolute piece of shit, Ed Woodward. By the way, lads, if you could smash the like, it'd be much appreciated. Much appreciated. Yes, big up to Levi Khan. Even if PEDs were legal, most fighters can't afford that elite level juice and methods. Yeah, that's true as well. But that's like elite level training, though. You know, and having like an elite level training camp, it's the same thing. Like the more elite fighters with more money are going to have access to better training in general, just like they would with PEDs if they were legal. Yeah, exactly. 100%. 100%, Jakov. I think he's just a good European level fighter, Mr. Relax. I don't think he goes any further than he is right now. Yeah, I was surprised, actually, Levi, in regards to the odds for that fight. I was surprised as well. I never bet on it, but I was surprised. I was pretty confident that Andrade wins on points in that fight. Prograis can't put the cheeseburgers down. Yeah, he looks fleshy, doesn't he? Regis Prograis. He does look fleshy. And he's from fucking Louisiana, though. They got some good food out there, man, so you can't blame him. I can't blame him. See, if I were to go to America, yeah, I'd have to visit Louisiana just because of the food, man. I'd want to visit Louisiana and live in Texas. I'd love to live in Texas. That'd be my dream if I were to move to America. For me, it's not getting the decision due to PEDs. Sorry, for me, it's not getting a decision due to a PED that bothers me. It's inflicting physical and neurological damage on another human being due to a PED, especially if the other guy in the fight isn't on any. Yeah, that's another thing. Whereas if everybody was on PEDs or had the opportunity to be on PEDs, then at least you know what you're signing up for, kind of thing. That's how I see it. I think boxing would be better off right now for everybody to be allowed to do anything. Or maybe just take a lot of substances off a banned list, like keep things like EPO, HGH, and that sort of shit. Keep that shit as banned substances, but be a lot more liberal with other things, kind of thing. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah, Oscar De La Hoya the other night, absolute embarrassment. High as a fucking kite, man. High as a kite on a not a national broadcast, but a big streaming platform. He embarrassed himself, man, and he wonders why his company is like falling to the wayside. If you was a young fighter, yeah, why would you want to sign for Oscar De La Hoya right now? The guy has completely destroyed his reputation in the media, amongst the fighters, amongst the fans. Yeah, he was a great fighter, but as a man, who's going to respect him, really? Who's going to respect him? The true son again, man. Dave Allen, your mate, should fight Cash Ali, the flesh eater. I'd love to see it, man. I'd love to see it. Well, he's signed with Dennis Hobson, Dave Allen, now, so maybe we could get that fight. They are both signed with Dennis Hobson, so we could see Dave Allen versus fucking Cash Ali some point soon. Yeah, I think Liam Williams is juiced up. I've said that for a long time. Look at the gym he's in, Hashman. Oh, so yeah, he's Man United's director of football or chief executive, whatever it is. And yeah, the strategy at the club since he's been here has been pretty awful in regards to like transfers and things like that, recruitment, being a complete and utter failure as a director of football or chief executive, whatever his title is. It's been terrible for the club. Basically, he's a yes man for the owners, essentially, kind of thing. But yeah, that whole Triller card in general, the whole Triller card was a complete joke. It was a complete just a show of degeneracy, in my opinion. And listen, I'm not so much offended by the card, to be honest. I don't really care. The issue is like boxing's allowed that to happen. If boxing was in a stronger state and we was getting these big fights year in year out and it was properly regulated, there would be no place for such a show in boxing if boxing was a properly run sport. But because, we're not getting certain things in the sport, that leaves openings for like people like Triller to come in and put on these freak shows. So boxing's got nobody to blame apart from itself. So hence why I never really went in on it. But that whole show was a mess, though, from what I saw, that whole Triller card. I couldn't believe it, Andre. I feel for you guys out in America. I really do. I couldn't believe that when that was on, when that got announced as pay-per-view, Andy Ruiz, Chris Arreola, couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, honestly. I'm sure it's going to be fun while it lasts, but Areola's got no chance. How many total rounds will Billy Joe Saunders be given on the scorecards versus Canelo? Over or under 10? I'd say he'll win 4 rounds. See, I'm not sure, Hashman, with Andrade, because way back in the day at 154, he could have fought Jamel Charlo. That fight actually got signed and he pulled out. I think it was due to money issues. He pulled out. So he could have fought Jamel Charlo at 154. Erislandy Lara was calling that guy out for years, man. Never fought him. So I'm not sure with Andrade. To be honest, I'm really not sure. I need to see something. Listen, I'd like to see Andrade versus Golovkin. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see Andrade versus Charlo or Murata, whoever it may be. But I'm not as convinced by him wanting these fights as others are. Andrade is in the Who Needs Him club, yet he has a world title. Bizarre. Yeah, I mean, listen, if I was Jamal Charlo or Gennady Golovkin, I'd look at that last performance and say, that guy's food, man. He's beatable. He can get hurt. He can get hit. He's scruffy. He's ungainly at times. You can take advantage of that. I don't think he's unbeatable by any means. I'd hope the other champions actually look at that and say, fuck it, I'll fight him. I'll take that belt. Listen, man. Even Andrade versus Manguia, I'd like to see. It depends where in America. America is such a big place. Nowhere like New York or California or San Francisco or nowhere like that. I wouldn't want to live there, but I'd want to live in like Texas, like what I class as like real, like that to me is America. Like somewhere like Texas, that to me is America. But I like the idea of Louisiana as well. I like the whole scene down there. For some reason, it appeals to me. The food looks great, man. Yeah, Oscar De La Coca was Oscar Coca Hoya was state of it was embarrassing. Yeah, he was man. He was. Yeah, he's not like John said. Truth son, Calais a more responsible cokehead. 100%, 100%. See, Calais Sauerland, he's a functioning cokehead. We all can appreciate that. But Oscar De La Hoya, man, that guy basically lost most of his fighters while he was under the influence. He basically lost control of boxing, Oscar De La Hoya, due to his substance issues. So he's not a functioning cokehead, and yeah, he's embarrassing himself. He needs an intervention quick, Oscar De La Hoya. But big up to Truth Son again for the support. Much appreciated as always, man. Yeah, Ricardo Lopez was a great fighter, man. Unbeaten. What was he? 48-0 with one draw, something like that. Very good fighter, man. See, my favorite Mexican fighter, I would say, was Salvador Sanchez. He could do everything, man. He could box, he could brawl, he could work on the inside, work the body. He could punch. Had a great chin, great feet. You know, he was a great fighter in general. Salvador Sanchez. Yeah, Eric Gomez been running Golden Boy for years, really. Yeah, Oscar De La Hoya is basically just, you know, the face of Golden Boy, the front man kind of thing, like basically the mascot, I would say. Would imagine Dell would be flying direct to Mississippi for most obese state, fat birds. Yeah, he did, man. Yeah, Tyson Fury, he's another PED cheat. And he doesn't get enough criticism for the Vladimir Klitschko rematch falling through, because he knew what was going on. That's why he fucking pulled out, in my opinion. That's why he pulled out. He knew what was happening. But yeah, he's another guy who's failed tests. Yeah, uncastrated boar, yeah. Who would you pick between Teofimo and Ramirez at 140? I've got Ramirez all day. He'd stop Teo, in my opinion. The key to beating Teo is putting him on his back foot. I agree. And I'm not convinced by Teo's gas tank, to be honest. If you look at the Nakatani fight and the late rounds against Loma, he was starting to flag in those fights, in my opinion. And Ramirez, whose relentless work rate, good pressure, good power, naturally a bigger dude as well. I think Ramirez would break Teofimo at 140. I think he's too robust, too strong kind of thing. That's how I see it anyway. I think he's too strong. By the way, lads, if you could smash the like, be much appreciated. Be much appreciated. So I'm going to wrap this one up in a second. Yeah, no, John Gonzalez is out there in Texas, man. So yeah, that's where I'd love to live, though, in America. It would be Texas. Tennessee was nice. Brother-in-law lives there. I need to visit America. I've still not been, so I still need to visit. At one point, we will do. Yeah, I can't be bothered with football anymore. I still like to watch the lower English leagues and Scottish. Fuck, I watched Bohemians versus Waterford the other day. Bohemians won. Yeah, I've totally kind of just I've totally just lost interest in football, really, especially after this Super League thing. I've been a casual when it comes to football for like 10 years now. I used to be like a hardcore football head when I was a kid, but the last 10 years or so, I've just really kind of slowly drifted out of it. Just the whole game now is far too corporate, you know. And yeah, this whole Super League thing really was the final nail in the coffin to me. Just the final nail. Yeah, Calais. Yeah, exactly. Calais leaves it for the weekend. Oscar does it on a school night. Terrible. 100%. 100%. Yeah, Calais is more responsible with his recreational drug use. There's no doubt about it. Far more responsible. Where are we at? Okay. Best I did was a field trip to Texas. Good times. What a place. Yeah, I'd love to visit, man. I'd love to visit. Do you think Ted Cheeseman could ever win a world title? I know it sounds like a long shot, but if Jamel becomes undisputed, then he could end up vacating, and Ted could be close to a vacant title. He's ranked 5th in the IBF. Yeah, I mean, I could easily see Ted fighting for a world title, but the stars would well and truly have to align for him to win one. Like, he would need to fight like a lower level guy to be a world champion. But stranger things have happened in boxing. Stranger things have happened, but I wouldn't say so, to be honest. I wouldn't say so. Do you think the ring girls are on coke as well? Probably, yeah. A lot of them are, I would say. Especially the English ones. Especially the English ones. Yes, big up to Unrivaled, man. Big up to Unrivaled. He's been doing a week-long live stream, man. Currently just over halfway through. Big up to Unrivaled, man. The guy's crazy. Absolutely insane. But salute to Unrivaled. How shocked would you be if Kambosos upset Tio? I'd be super shocked. I don't think he's got a hope in hell. I've watched a few Kambosos fights, and yeah, I'm not impressed. To me, he's not a genuine top 10 lightweight. I mean, struggling with a former featherweight Lee Selby, who was never really great at featherweight, isn't a good look. Going life and death with Mickey Bay, a shot Mickey Bay, split decision. He's not really exactly been setting the world alight. Kambosos, he looks extremely basic to me. Walks forwards in straight lines. He's there to be hit. I think he'll get knocked out quick in that fight. I think he'll be knocked out quick. 4 or 5 rounds kind of thing. And like Steven Schneider said as well, Kambosos just doesn't have the power. And that's another thing. If his skill set was exactly the same as it is now, but he had crazy power, of course he would have a chance. But I don't see that he's got a puncher's chance in this fight. I think he'll get lit up, to be honest. I think he's going to get destroyed. 97 hours, fuck me. Oh, that's a very good fight. Junto Nakatani versus Angel Acosta, possible in May. Very good fight. I'd favour Nakatani, but Acosta's a good fighter. That fight would be a war, man. That'd be a war. Yeah, hopefully that happens, man. Yeah, May could be a very good month then. May could be a very good month. It's a head fuck to me, yeah, that fucking May's like just over a week away. My birthday's on May 5th, man. It's crazy. Oh yeah, 100% LT. Tio's going to stop. Yeah, Tio's definitely going to stop Cambosos. Cambosos won't last for distance against Tio. Tio has braces now and is starting to transform into a full-grown man. He's still a kid. Yeah. Cambosos is also foolish to try and intimidate Tio. Bloke is from down under. Tio's from New York. Ain't no discussion. Listen, man, he's just not good enough. Just not good enough. George Cambosos, not good enough. He's lucky to be there, Cambosos. I mean, not lucky. I'm talking about payday. Like he's earning what, nearly $2 million. He couldn't have imagined that going into this fight, man. Before it got finalized, George Cambosos hit the lottery, literally, man. Fair play to him. He's going to make a lot of money. Hopefully, he doesn't get too badly hurt so he can enjoy it. But yeah, he's going to get fucked up, man. Yeah, 2 weeks away. Yeah. So we got Canelo Saunders this month. We got Ramirez Prograis. You got the return of fucking what's his face, Andy Ruiz. It's a decent month, man. It's a decent month. Yep, I'm going to be 27 in May 5th. 27 years old, Cinco de Mayo. So if anybody wants to get me some fucking Mexican treats like some Corona, some tequila, anything like that, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. I'm joking. But yeah, a nice bottle of tequila wouldn't go amiss. Yeah, we could actually. Yeah, we could have 3 or 4 undisputed champions this year. Yeah, Taylor Ramirez, um, Joshua Fury, Charlo Castano, and maybe Canelo if he beats Caleb Plant later in the year, and obviously if he beats Billy Joe Saunders. So we could have 4 undisputed champions in 1 year. That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. And I tell you what, the more I think about Charlo Castano, the more unsure I get. I think Castano could be a bad style for Charlo. It could be a bad style because Charlo to me is not great on the inside. He can handle himself on the inside, but I don't think he's great there. Castano to me is the best inside fighter at 154, and he's got a great work rate. Castano in that fight needs to be all of the way in all the time to win that fight. If he can stick to Charlo's chest, he's got a good chance. But it's getting to the inside, which is the risky part. Charlo's very explosive, very dangerous at mid-range. He can catch you with a big shot and knock you out. So I like that fight a lot, man. I really like that fight, Jamel Charlo, Brian Castano. That could be fight of the year. I'm not kidding. That could be a fight of the year contender, Charlo Castano. I really believe that. If you look at the PBC right now, Jamel Charlo's the guy putting in work. Like Errol Spence is, being Errol Spence. Deontay Wilder's gone missing in action. Tank Davis still not really delivering. Jamal Charlo, say no more. Like Jamal Charlo really is the only guy putting in solid work over at the PBC. And Sean Porter, of course. You've got to always give Sean Porter credit, but got nothing bad to say about Jamal Charlo. Guy's fighting everybody. Yeah, that's true, Truth Sons. Yeah, just because somebody is from New York doesn't make him tough. It's actions, 100%, Truth Son, 100%. Like I've known guys from the rougher areas of the world, and they're not necessarily always about it. Not all the time. Yeah, Jamal's a dickhead. Jamel is all right, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. That's how I see it. I've got no problem with Jamel Charlo. And listen, man, Jamel's recent fights have all been pretty fun. Like the second Tony Harrison fight was a fucking good fight, man. That was a sick fight. Really good fight. And you've got Yeah, Jamel's all right, man. Yeah, Charlo's a sharpshooter, so Castano could get sparked out. Yeah, exactly, man. He could that forward momentum that he brings, yeah, it could be to his detriment. He could walk into a big punch. Castano's a bad style match for Charlo, but he won't be strong enough. Too much power for the Argentinian to handle. Charlo KO is my pick. Them Texas boys are too strong. Yeah, man. Again, out of Texas, man. Oh, big up to Truth Son again, man. Truth Son's going mad. Happy B-Day, mate. I got Castano, but respect this Charlo from PBC, yeah. I agree, man. I agree. I like Jamel Charlo. He's even putting his brother on blast, man, like criticizing his brother's resume. So what's not to like? And big up to Steven Schneider as well, man, for the contribution. Yeah, thanks for the support, guys, man. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Oh, big up to Jiho Park as well, man. Jiho Park's been here in like all the recent live streams, man. So big up to you, mate. Big up. He says Castano's strong and can smother the bully and bully Charlo, but Charlo is a good boxer puncher, so he can catch Castano coming in. Great fight for Undisputed. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's a great fight, man. Really good fight. Yeah, Jamal should be fighting Boo Boo. Waste of time fighting Montiel. That's a shit fight. 100%, man. 100%. Garbage fight. PBC are boring unless the hype jobs are losing or Manny Pacquiao is fighting. Yeah, the PBC need to really up their game. Their schedule coming up actually looks half decent, in my opinion. So you've got Nonito Donaire versus Nordine Ubali. That's a good fight. Charlo Castano's a good fight. Luis Neri, Brandon Figueroa is decent. They've got some decent fights coming up, actually. They've got some decent fights coming up. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Levi. I know what you're saying. Yeah, that's the downside for Castano. Not really a big puncher. Got great work rate though. If he knocks you out, he'll grind you down. But yeah, he's not a big puncher. Just a real good. He's got a good engine though. Real good work rate. And if he can stick to Charlo, he's got a chance. But like I say, man, it's getting to the inside, man. Charlo's very explosive. Very explosive. I'm hard because I'm from Glasgow. Easy. Yeah, it was so funny when he was roasting his brother. Yeah, listen, Jamel Charlo is one of those fighters, yeah, that I never really liked at first. I've got to admit, but I've kind of warmed to him, Jamel Charlo. I've kind of warmed to him. I moved from Glasgow to Nottingham, then did the unthinkable and moved back to Glasgow. I'm so hard. I make hard people look not hard. Yeah, Joe Smith lost that fight with Vlasov. I've watched it 3 times now. Yeah, I felt he lost as well. Very, very good fight though. But yeah, again, just that's the sort of thing boxing needs to eradicate. You know, those sort of decisions. The thing is that annoyed me about that fight was the narrative going in. So the narrative going in was, you know, the Joe Smith Jr. story, how he's a construction worker, you know, a working man, all this stuff, right? How it's like been this journey in boxing to become a world champion, which is all well and good. And it's a great story. But Maxim Vlasov had his story. 16 years as a pro, fighting all over the world in multiple divisions, looking to become a world champion. He had his story as well, which was never told, kind of thing. So that kind of bugged me about that fight. That kind of bugged me, I've got to say. What do you think about Conway versus Sissoko? I reckon that'll be a good fight. Yeah, very good fight. Solomon Sissoko, he's with, isn't he with Anthony Joshua? I'm pretty sure he signed with Joshua, Solomon Sissoko. But he's a decent fighter. That's a good, well-matched fight. I would lean towards Sissoko, to be honest. But it's a good fight. It's a good little fun fight. You know when your mate starts acting different in front of a girl and it's awkward because you can tell they're acting different. That's what the trailer show felt like, laugh out loud. The trailer show looked like, yeah. I know what you mean. It was cringe, wasn't it? The whole Triller thing. It really wasn't great. But again, I'm not criticizing Triller really. As bad as it was, right? I thought it was like a big. The whole thing was really degenerate to me. But I don't really blame Triller. It's more so boxing's fault that they've allowed that to happen. Because if boxing was a sport that was flourishing, and we was getting a great product year on year out, then there'd be no place for things like that. I mean, the perfect example is UFC. Like back in the day, UFC used to have loads of freak fights, and year by year, slowly, that started to become less and less. And now they've got a product now where they don't need to rely on that anymore. They can rely on their sporting product, which they're putting forth, and fans are very happy with it. So there's none of these real freak shows anymore for the most part. Whereas boxing, we're getting a whole host of them now, and there's a reason for that. We can blame the other people involved, but really it's just boxing to blame. It's not really Triller. That's how I see it. Oh yeah, 100%. 100%, Lewis. Yeah, like like watching guys like Ray Flores unnecessarily swearing, and all these other legit boxing guys trying to act edgy to try and cater for casuals as much as possible. Yeah, it was embarrassing. Smith got a majority decision. Stephen, majority. Yeah, Vlasov wins that fight in Russia, but I doubt Smith travels there, even if he's not the champion. Yeah, I agree. He won't travel there. Yeah, I felt sorry for Vlasov in that fight, to be honest. I kind of felt sorry for him. What I'd like to see happen, I'd like to see the WBO. Obviously, we know what's going to happen. Joe Smith's going to fight Beterbiev, which is a great fight. I want to see it. Hopefully, it happens next. But I want to see the WBO order Maxim Vlasov and Umar Salamov to fight for the mandatory. That's what I want to see. I think Vlasov deserves something out of that, in my opinion. Oh, that's a joke. Yeah, Chris Colbert and the Husk that is Gamboa fighting for the WBA interim title at 130 is an absolute travesty and a joke. Yep, this is what I'm talking about with boxing. You know, people can complain about Triller, but it's fights like that's a fucking joke. Absolute joke. There's no need for that fight. What does it prove? Absolutely nothing. Gamboa, 39 years old, coming off a bad injury, 2 bad losses. Now he's moving down in weight, fighting for some sort of title. That's boxing's problem, not Triller. That's how I say it. That's how I see it anyway. Yeah, the only good fight's the main event, LT. That's the only good fight. You got Callum Johnson back in action, but it's a mismatch. It's a mismatch. Yeah, Ray Flores at one point provided excellent commentary when he said they're beating the shit out of each other. Yeah, nice one, Ray. 2 years ago, I was in my Team Brown hoodie waiting to watch him give Alan a beating live in London. Damn, that 420 was good. Yeah, Colbert versus Gamboa and Dubois versus Dinu, both interim WBA title fights. That says it all, man. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great, Andre. It's not great. I don't mind the Kieran Conway fight with Salaman Sissoko. That'll be a pretty fun fight for what it is, but yeah, man. Gamboa's going to be the richest amigo in Miami after his boxing days are done. Sorry, good for him. He made it out of Cuba and earned himself a good living. Shame for PBC are throwing him to the wolves, but he gets paid. Yeah. Yeah, I saw this, LT. Vodzik might be coming back. Potential opponent for B-Roll while he waits for Smith versus Beterbiev winner. I'd love to see it, bro. I think Vodzik still has a lot to offer. He's still only, 33 years old? So I'd like to see him come back, but, you know, given the nature of his last loss, does he really want it, man? If he does, then I'd love to see him back. I don't rate him, Mark Castro. I've seen a bit of Mark Castro on the DAZN undercards, and yeah, I have to say I don't rate him. Yeah, Gamboa's been used as a stepping stone / punching bag. Hope he's earning well. Yeah, I used to be a big Gamboa fan back in the day, Tone. I used to be a big Gamboa fan when he was at featherweight. He's another guy though that kind of ate himself out of those weight classes, Gamboa. Because obviously Gamboa was supposed to fight what's his name? What's the guy's name? Fuck. Bob Arum basically marinated it too long. It was supposed to be Gamboa and Juanma Lopez. I wish we got that fight back in the day. And also Gamboa versus Mikey Garcia. That's another fight Bob Arum tried to make back in the day that fell through. I wish we got those fights back in the day for Gamboa. I used to be a big Gamboa fan. I used to rate him so highly, man. One of the most exciting fighters you'll ever see. He could get dropped, but he had crazy power at featherweight, hand speed, combinations. He was a great fighter to watch, man. Yeah, Conwell's a good prospect. Andre, Conwell's a good prospect. I wondered about him after the Patrick Day fight because you know how those sort of fights can affect fighters. But he's looking good. He's looking good, man. Very tough dude, man. A lot of aggression, strength. He's a good fighter, Charles Conwell. I think he's going to be a world champion when all of these belts become fragmented. I really do. Yeah, man. He was so exciting, Tone. He was so exciting. He always used to get dropped, man, but never used to stay down. He was a great fighter to watch, Gamboa. He never really belonged at lightweight, Gamboa, in my opinion. He was never a lightweight. Never. I rate Madrimov in terms of skills. I think he's got a lot of ability, but he's one of those fighters to me where it almost looks like he's trying to do too much at times. Like he's not got the highest boxing IQ. He tries to do way too much, if that makes sense. But he's a good fighter. Yeah, he is, man. He's very fan-friendly. Very fan-friendly. Mark Castro gives me sleepless nights. Anyway, lads, I'm going to wrap this one up. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you could smash the like, be much appreciated. Always helps the channel out. So yeah, smash the like. I'll try and do one more of these this week, maybe towards the end of the week if I have time. I won't be covering the fights on Saturday because I'll be going out. But yeah, I'll try and do one more maybe on Friday, maybe. But yeah, peace, guys.